Tonight, locked in, Cyclone Alfred turns its path, narrowing the southeast now squarely in its sights.
Chaos at sandbagging stations, supermarkets too. Now warnings of catastrophic storm surges. The suburbs on alert.
Help arrives. Hundreds of police on the ground in the strike zone, asking thousands to consider leaving.
Major events called off. The AFL's opening round in disarray.
Also tonight, Donald Trump turns his back on Ukraine, cutting off aid.
And details on a new scam catching out retirees.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Max Futcher and Katrina Blowers.
Good evening. Cyclone Alfred is right now barrelling towards southeast Queensland. The Category 2 storm turned this afternoon and is tracking west in line with Brisbane.
Forecasters are confident it will make landfall late Thursday or early Friday, with authorities urging Queenslanders now is the time to prepare.
Smashing the southeast, this is just a taste of what's to come. The spit swallowed by monster waves, an already aggressive Alfred is showing Queensland just how powerful he is.
Just absolute carnage out there. It's pretty big. It's just kind of starting to hold with the tide coming in, and yeah, my board got obliterated.
It's already eating away at our beaches. The northern tip of Bribie Island is underwater and conditions are only getting rougher in the bay.
It's my baby, yeah.
How long have you had it for?
No, I bought this one nearly 4 years ago.
Paul Wright's boat, already a cyclone casualty. Blown from its mooring, it's now beached on the southern part of Bribie.
It's broken away and it floated towards the rocks. Thank God it kind of stopped where it did because, yeah, it's everything I own.
Yeah.
On the Bay Islands, people are preparing to bunker down, making the most of today's final ferry services to pick up supplies from the mainland.
We got some water, but when we get home, we'll just fill up a whole pile of containers in the bar.
That's why I'm going early for, trying to get what I can get and then get back.
I want Queenslanders to know that we are prepared, and today we're joined by strong support to show how seriously we are taking this.
Tropical Cyclone Alfred has re-intensified to a Category 2, 600 kilometres east of Brisbane. It's now tracking west, forecast to make landfall in the southeast either late Thursday or early Friday.
All of the information does show that this is something we need to take seriously.
Those on board the Pacific Encounter have been the first to go through the cyclone, grateful to be docking at the port of Brisbane after a rough ride home.
At one point they actually had to shut the pool off because by that time the waves were pretty big. The motion of the ocean was just...
Sandbag stations across the southeast are bogged. The wait time at Newmarket more than 3 hours, causing bedlam across Brisbane.
There will be times when they do run out just because of the sheer demand, but certainly we're working full steam to make sure we get those sandbags filled.
The demand has been so high it's exceeded the 2022 floods. 74,000 were collected across the city in one day, twice as many as the last disaster.
Don't really know what to expect, so I think it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared.
An extra 250,000 sandbags will arrive tomorrow. More food is on the way too, to replenish empty supermarket shelves.
We have amended regulations to allow resupply in 21 local government areas to be conducted 24/7. That's never happened before a disaster.
Unlike some storms, cyclones come with a warning. Brisbane City Council has removed 11 city cats from the river, grateful for the extra notice this time around.
The brand new city cats are worth $4.7 million each, and so we need to protect them.
Billions of dollars worth of boats moored here at Manly Marina will be put to the test, with the abnormally high tides bringing a lot of moving water. Half a metre above the highest water level we'd see in a year. It'll be higher again on the coast.
If it is to cross at high tide, it makes it a far more challenging prospect.
Anyone who chooses to stay, please ensure that you have prepared your properties and have a plan in place
to ride out whatever this system may bring. Qantas, Jetstar and Virgin are considering moving all aircraft flying every jet out of Brisbane and maybe the Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast. That's to keep them safe from damage during the cyclone, but to also get people and planes moving fast. Flights will be affected possibly as early as tomorrow afternoon. Schools will be open tomorrow, but as for Thursday and Friday, that decision will be made tomorrow. Max and Katrina, sorry.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, we're going to go to Liam Bland now, who's at the Boondall Entertainment Centre tonight. Liam, it has been a day of chaos at sandbagging stations.
Katrina, sandbagging stations across Brisbane have been inundated today by locals, hoping for the best but preparing for the worst ahead of Alfred's arrival. 4 new sandbagging stations opened this morning, including this one here at Boondall, and even in just the first few hours of the gates flying open, more than 10,000 sandbags had been distributed. 68,000 the total across Brisbane so far today, 74,000 yesterday too. Those figures well above the amounts recorded at even the peak of the 2022 floods, so new records being set, and that unprecedented demand has caused some frustration. Some residents told us they queued for more than 5 hours today. These stations will remain open overnight. The advice for anyone attending the Fill It Yourself stations: bring your own shovel where possible because it will fast track your access to the sand.
Liam Bland there at Boondall. Let's go to Bribie Island now. Ned Baum, you have more on that effort to move a beached boat.
Yeah, Max, you want to talk about a great community effort, a community rallying around their own. This is the boat behind me here. We spoke to Paul. He's actually on the boat as we speak, working on it. Now, that came off its mooring about 400 metres off the beach last night. What we've seen today, he put a message out to Facebook asking for a little bit of help. What he got was dozens of people coming down to the beach with their own shovels, digging a trench so that later in the night, when the tide does come further up, they can pull it into that trench and just keep it safe, a little bit more safe, and keep it away from the rocks, and hopefully eventually he can get it back out to sea. That's just an example of them taking care of each other here in Moreton Bay, a region with around 500,000 people and a pretty varying demographic. We have the elderly, the retirees, a lot of them on Bribie Island here, but also a lot of young families on the mainland. So everyone will be paying very close attention to where Alfred is coming, and it's worth noting the Moreton City Bay Council, they are looking at releasing the exact addresses of those evacuation centres tomorrow morning.
All right, thanks for that, Ned. Let's go straight to 7 News meteorologist now, Tony Auden. Tony, there are concerns that Alfred could get back up to a Category 3 even.
Yes, there are, Max. It's not on the official forecast track, but it is written in the Bureau's technical bulletin and supported by some of the recent model updates. For now, Alfred is at Category 2, not even remotely looking like a tropical cyclone. There is this impressive low-level circulation here on the satellite, but no tall cloud. Think of it like the engine is off, but the wheels are still spinning. It's all because of this, the jet stream, a belt of strong winds about 10 kilometres up in the atmosphere, ripping that taller cloud away before it can form. But as we head into tomorrow, Alfred moves across into an area of lighter winds. That cloud can start to build and the engine gets going again, gaining a few more of those tropical characteristics. That could bump up a band of destructive wind gusts. That's the pink shades on the map here on the southern side of Alfred, close to landfall. That means significantly greater potential for damage, even larger waves and surge. I'll be back soon with the latest.
All right, we'll see you soon, Tony. The AFL's opening round is in disarray with 2 games cancelled because of Cyclone Alfred. Alyssa Smith is at the Gabba tonight. Alyssa, the Lions clash against the Cats has been postponed.
Katrina, it's been 62 years since an entire opening round was postponed due to bad weather. That was in Melbourne in 1963. For the Lions, they'll have to wait a little bit longer to unfurl their premiership flag in front of their faithful. It's tipped to be round 3 when both the Lions and the Cats have a bye.
The safety of family and friends and staff and fans is the priority. So that's why common sense has to prevail.
The other game, the Suns v Essendon, they were set to play on Saturday at Carrara. That too has been postponed. The AFL is yet to announce a new fixture date that is expected to be confirmed in the coming days. In the NRL, the Dolphins were set to face their old coach Wayne Bennett and his Bunnies at Suncorp Stadium on Friday. That has now been moved. They are now packing their bags. They will head south across the border to play them in Sydney at CommBank Stadium. Now, for the Broncos, they are already in Sydney, ready to take on the Roosters tomorrow, or on Thursday night rather. They have packed some extra luggage in case they get stranded in Sydney.
So many changes. Thanks for that, Alyssa. Well, people in Surfers Paradise, Pelican Waters and Scarborough could experience a storm surge when Cyclone Alfred crosses the coast.
Hydrologists are still trying to work out just how many homes are at risk and also how high that water could rise.
As communities prepare for Cyclone Alfred, when and where he crosses is key.
If it is to cross at high tide, it makes it a far more challenging prospect.
Because of the risk of a storm surge caused by the abnormal rise of sea levels. In a worst-case scenario on the Gold Coast, 6,000 homes could be impacted.
Every scenario that has been modelled indicates not a good outcome for our city.
Parts of Surfers Paradise, Elanora and Paradise Point are expected to be worst hit. On the Sunshine Coast, Pelican Waters is just one of 8 suburbs authorities are keeping a close eye on. The council releasing a full map of the areas at risk of flooding. Predictions of a storm surge at 500 millimetres above the highest astronomical tide would impact nearly 1,600 homes on the Sunshine Coast and 50 in the Moreton Bay region, including here in Scarborough.
There is king tides and there is flooding here.
This Shorncliffe business has flooded before and expects it might again.
We have many sandbag and we will put the nylon here, stick to the wall and put the sandbag here to the front door.
This area of Deagon flooded in 2022. The water levels coming up to homes, forcing many people to evacuate. They still get nervous when it rains, and with a potential cyclone coming, some are choosing to leave.
If somebody knocks on your door in the days ahead and explains the kind of area that you're in and what is expected, please listen to their advice.
To avoid being caught in a dangerous event.
And in breaking news, Brisbane City Council has released their storm surge and flood mapping data based on the latest forecast. The council is predicting 15 suburbs, including Nudgee Beach, Brighton, Windsor, Ashgrove and Rocklea, could be impacted. It's estimated that 20,000 properties could be affected across the city from Thursday from storm surge or from flooding, either water in backyards or reaching into homes. All of that information is now available to the public on council's websites, and residents are urged to take a look at it to know their risk as Alfred approaches.
Great advice, Rosanna Kingson there in the newsroom. We are going to go now to Jordan Quinn, who is on the Sunshine Coast tonight. Jordan, there's a huge number of police at Mooloolaba.
Yeah, that's right, Katrina. More than 100 recruits have spent the afternoon door-knocking the streets of Mooloolaba. They're actually on this bus right now and they're ready to head back to Caloundra for another big day tomorrow. But they've been speaking with residents, asking them what they're doing, how they're preparing and making sure that they're ready for when Alfred hits. This show of numbers really, it shows how much emergency services are taking this, how seriously they're taking it. We've seen the cancellation of the Mooloolaba triathlon just today, rather. But for authorities, resident safety is paramount. A convoy as mighty as the cyclone coming. Police from the north, south, and recruits, officers in waiting, all willing to leave their homes, their families, to help strangers in need. Like residents in Golden Beach, the Sunshine Coast's silver suburb, where people have seen booms, busts, but never a cyclone. 5,000 people are being asked to consider leaving.
We are currently finalising the locations of our refuge centres and we will update our community.
I expect rainfall, storm surge and high tides and large swells to be the main impact across the Sunshine Coast.
Authorities are concerned about Pelican Waters, a canal estate where water once fated is now feared.
We're just blocking off the bottom of the doors so the water doesn't come in from outside and flood inside. That's the theory. Whether it works or not's another thing.
But it's made for light work with help from neighbours like Dave.
You know, I'm a bit worried about these couple because they're getting a bit older now.
There will be areas who haven't experienced this kind of weather event,
which has created a rush to the Bowser Bunnings is busy too, in Sippy Downs, long lines to even enter supermarkets, even longer to snag a sandbag.
Sometimes you've got to do these things, haven't you?
Keep coming.
An almost 3-hour wait for Jake Carew. He doesn't need a bag, but his grandma at Golden Beach desperately does.
I'm just grabbing some sandbags and taking them over there and helping her pack up before this cyclone hits.
55,000 have been handed out as residents rush to protect their homes. But at these stations, spirits are high. Joel Valentine filled his sandbags yesterday. Today, he returned with a shovel.
Yeah, they're helping me out, so I've got the day free so I can help out other people.
Bribie Island continues to break away, the gap widening each day. Huge swell carving a path to Golden Beach and the Caloundra Power Boat Club. This morning, council workers dug a deep trench, filling it with geobags, ready to build a wall to protect the club. Beach erosion has begun, with big swell only about to get bigger, residents now in for a nervous few nights, forced to watch and wait. On the Sunshine Coast, Jordan Quinn, 7 News.
We'll shift our focus to the Gold Coast now, and Amanda Abate, evacuations are underway there too.
That's right, Max, over at South Stradbroke Island, voluntary for now, but 3 evacuation centres will also open in the city tomorrow as we brace for the worst. The rain, of course, expected to be torrential here, along with gale-force winds up to 130 kilometres an hour. A swag of events have already been cancelled, including the Green Day concert tomorrow night, which has just been called off. As you can see, the cyclonic swell has certainly already arrived. Huge swells are building off the coast. All beaches are closed, but plenty of big name surfers out in force today, very keen to find this storm's silver lining. A cyclone brewing at sea. If there was panic at the Southern Point breaks, you couldn't tell.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. Best it's been in a long time.
I feel like we've all been waiting like a year or more for something like this to happen.
A cyclonic swell attracting huge crowds and surfing greats. They went in on jet skis, came out with broken boards. Mick Fanning with a cut to his eye after this barrel at Kirra.
It's pretty amazing out there. It's absolutely firing.
But this lineup had nothing on this one.
Slightly concerned, but just playing it safe.
Hundreds waiting hours for sandbags.
Don't really know what to expect, so I think it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared.
Some now trying to make money on an impending disaster. The sea already washing into the car park at the Currumbin Surf Club. The beaches will without doubt cop a battering already today. Waves up to 4 to 5 metres. By Thursday they could very well double in height. As the city glistened under sunny skies, the outlook is growing increasingly grim.
This is expected to be the most significant system since 1954.
Margaret Thornton was a teenager then when the Great Gold Coast cyclone left the region in tatters.
And I can remember the noise of the roaring wind. So many houses had their front just hanging over the abyss because they'd been undermined and lost all metres of front yard.
And Alfred is coming in head on.
Alfred's not as intense, but it's coming in from the east, more perpendicular to the coast, and the waves have more energy.
He's already wiped out the city's major events. Green Day's only Queensland show tomorrow night cancelled, along with the Australian Women's PGA, the Board Riders Battle Grand Final, the Suns Essendon season opener postponed, theme parks are closed, all non-essential council services shut down from Thursday. The tourist city taking just a few chances. Amanda Abate, 7 News.
Now, there is a lot of uncertainty still about if and when dam releases will happen. To fill us in a bit more, we've got our state political editor, Marlena Wapp, here with us. Marlena, those dam engineers are still waiting to hit the release button.
Yes, Katrina, they want to see where the rain falls first. The state-owned dam operator says Wivenhoe currently has storage available for 2 million megalitres of floodwater above the drinking water capacity. Management during floods changed changed after the Royal Commission into the 2011 disaster. The dam's flood manual does not allow for preemptive releases based on rainfall forecasts if water is still below the drinking water capacity, which for Wivenhoe is currently at 85.9%, Somerset Dam 80%, North Pine Dam is at 52.7%, the Hinds Dam 99.4%. The head of SEQ Water is defending its decision.
If we were to do things on a forecast, as we know, the forecasts change massively, and we may be taking water out of dams that doesn't need to be taken out until a later point in time.
Releases from Wivenhoe can take up to 36 hours to reach the Brisbane CBD, so they are holding off for now, but controlled releases are possible later this week.
All right, thank you for the update, Marlena. Well, stay with us. The rest of today's news is just ahead, including a fresh health setback for the Pope. We are live to the Vatican.
A parade turns to panic as a car rams through a crowd.
See the spectacular moment, a jet breaks the sound barrier.
And scam alert, the new trick that will leave you stunned. Don't miss that 7 News investigation.
Welcome back. The Pope's seesawing health has dipped again. He's been put back on a ventilator to help him breathe. Ben Downey is at the Vatican. Ben, what has caused this latest setback?
Good evening, Katrina. Well, in the past 24 hours, the Pope has suffered 2 acute respiratory failures caused by a build-up of mucus in his lungs. Now, he had suffered one of these and then recovered only immediately to suffer a second. Now he requires machine to breathe. His medical team says this is being caused by the double pneumonia, the reason the 88-year-old is in hospital. And they're reluctant to say whether he is currently in a critical or stable condition, saying while he has had a peaceful and restful night, it's still a very complex medical picture. The reason why, well, he's continually shown signs of improvement, only to suffer these setbacks that are coming more frequently now. What was originally thought to be perhaps a Friday discharge date from hospital, now the Vatican says any talk of a timeline is premature because he is far from out of danger. Max?
Ben Downey live at the Vatican tonight. 2 people have been killed and dozens more injured after a driver ploughed into a crowd in the German city of Mannheim. Security cameras captured the car being driven at speed towards thousands of people who'd gathered for parades to mark the start of the carnival season. Police swiftly arrested the driver, a 40-year-old German citizen. They believe he was acting alone, but his motive isn't yet known.
We have new video tonight of missing Roma mother Taylor Spees. The 29-year-old was captured on security cameras filling up at a service station in Condamine on February 2nd. She then kept driving west, which are her last known movements. Police have been unable to locate the white ute she was in.
The Russia-Ukraine war turned on its head. Next, Donald Trump pulls the plug on US support. We have all the fallout.
A roadside takedown after a shopping centre scare at Mount Omni.
Revealed what our Defence Force really knew about China's warship aggression.
And half of Aussie kids obese by 2050, the new warning.
US President Donald Trump has delivered a potentially catastrophic blow to Ukraine, suspending all military assistance. It could condemn the country to Russian rule and is a seismic shift in global security, especially for America's allies.
Thank you very much.
An American president about to turn his back on an ally at war.
Somebody doesn't want to make a deal, and if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long.
A move that will be viewed as a wartime betrayal and a punishment for President Volodymyr Zelensky.
This country has stuck with them through thick and thin, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time, and he better not be right about that.
Donald Trump's anger and frustration has been obvious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
So have the clues.
But you're either going to make a deal or we're out.
Clearly, he wasn't bluffing. A White House source confirming the president has been clear that he is focused on peace. We need our partners to be committed to that goal as well. We are pausing and reviewing our aid to ensure that it is contributing to a solution. In short, end the war or I will. A gift for Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
He is not interested in ending the war. He thinks Russia is winning.
It also sends a terrifying message to all of America's allies. Just hours earlier, the UK Prime Minister told the British Parliament,
"But to succeed, this effort must also have strong US backing."
But this is the beginning, probably, if the US exit from Europe.
The President is expected to formalise the halt in aid tomorrow when he comes here to the capital to give his comeback speech, his first address to Congress since his re-election.
His decision coming after a meeting with his top defence and national security advisors. It means the latest shipment from the US, $1 billion worth of weapons and ammunition, will be stopped immediately in its tracks.
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative.
That's unlikely now. As the bullets start to run out, Russia is reinvigorated and Donald Trump puts America first at any cost.
And Rob Scott is in Washington tonight. Rob, where does this extraordinary decision leave the rest of America's allies?
Well, that's a very good question, Katrina. And you'd have to imagine if Donald Trump is happy to treat a friend in the middle of fighting a war like this, well, then all bets are off. And of course, this raises some extremely awkward questions for Anthony Albanese. Can Australia continue to rely on its most important, most powerful ally if it treats them like this? These are all doubts which it's hoped Donald Trump will answer when he addresses Congress here tomorrow. Max.
Rob Scott in Washington. Well, let's bring in Tim Lester now. Tim, the Prime Minister now open to sending troops to Ukraine?
Yes, Max, this surprised many here who thought, if anything, Prime Minister Albanese would talk down the possibility of peacekeepers. Of course, Australia does have a history of peacekeeping, particularly in the region, Cambodia, also Bougainville, the Solomons, East Timor, but this would be much further from home and has a long way to play before it develops into a peacekeeping mission. Australia's role would likely therefore be modest, if anything at all. A spokesman inside the government tells me that Prime Minister Albanese really here is expressing his values and his support for other world leaders.
There's discussion at the moment about potential peacekeeping. We're open to consideration of any proposals going forward.
In terms of whether we should have boots on the ground in Ukraine, I don't support that. I think the Europeans have that task.
The two leaders now so clearly diverging on peacekeeping and the election potentially even just days away. This could be an issue. Max?
Tim Lester in Canberra. Two teenagers have been arrested after a robbery in the car park of a Mount Omni shopping centre. Police say a woman was approached with a knife, but she was able to escape and hide. The teens allegedly approached a second woman as she was walking towards her car and stole her handbag.
7 News can tonight reveal the Defence Force was well aware of China's plan to deploy warships around Australia days in advance. It's intelligence that was seemingly kept under wraps by the Prime Minister, despite being hit by a flurry of political attacks.
Taking an interest in how Dora managed to become school captain.
Won an election. Can you give me some tips?
Just have a good speech.
There you go.
In a more formal question and answer setting, asked if China really did warn Papua New Guinea of its naval task group 2 weeks before he knew. The answer, no.
We gave a heads up to Port Moresby.
Government, intelligence and diplomatic sources confirming to 7 News Australia did inform PNG after receiving Five Eyes intelligence outlining the task group's plans several days before it sailed near Australian waters, including its intention to circumnavigate Australia and conduct live fire exercises.
I have absolutely no doubt that the Department of Defence knew exactly where these warships were.
Sources confirming Defence did, mobilising continuous air and sea surveillance with New Zealand, but still learnt the live firing exercise was underway from a passing Virgin jet.
This Prime Minister had no idea about the presence. He didn't know what to do.
Senior sources tell 7 News Anthony Albanese had known about it for weeks, but respected intelligence protocols by not talking about it. On Sunday, saying this.
What we don't do at press conferences is relay what intelligence information the Australian government receives.
The task group now 314 kilometres southwest of Perth. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Dolly Parton's husband of almost 60 years, Carl Dean, has died. The country music legend met her longtime beau outside the wishy-washy laundromat in Nashville when she was only 18. He would inspire her hit song Jolene, but famously he shunned the spotlight throughout their life together. Dolly announced his death in a social media post saying, "Words can't do justice to the love we shared." Carl Dean was 82.
Doctors are warning that within 25 years, half of all Australian children will be obese. Their call to arms is next.
No more cuts, what the RBA's meeting minutes reveal.
The new scam catching out Aussie retirees and how to avoid it.
And it's never been seen before, what breaking the sound barrier looks like.
Hello, live sporting events made us big spenders in January. Retail sales rose 0.3% as consumers ate out while watching the cricket and Australian Open. The gender pay gap is getting narrower, but not by much, with women still earning just 78 cents for every dollar earned by a man. And a steady supply of weight loss drugs has helped lift telehealth startup Eucalyptus's revenue from $78 million to $121 million. On the markets, the ASX 200 slipped today as Donald Trump doubled down on his tariff threats. That also caused the Australian dollar to slip below 62 US cents. And don't bank on another interest rate cut. The minutes from last month's RBA meeting show the board intends to tread carefully.
Thanks, Amelia. Former Australian of the Year, Richard Scolyer, is recovering from complex brain surgery after recent scans raised concerns. He's posted pictures smiling from his hospital bed, thanking everyone for their support. In 2023, the medical professor was diagnosed with brain cancer and given months to live. He made himself a medical guinea pig, trialling his own experimental treatment. Last year, he declared he was cancer-free.
Parents and grandparents are being warned tonight that unless urgent action is taken, half of all Australian children will be obese by 2050. Experts are now calling for immediate government intervention.
More children than ever are facing a crisis that could last a lifetime, with a new study revealing that in 25 years, 2 million Australian children and adolescents will be obese, a further 1.6 million overweight, young women most at risk.
Between 1990 and now, overweight and obesity has doubled globally, and the rates of obesity alone have tripled.
Experts warn the next 5 years are critical, and without immediate, large-scale policy changes, children could face a lifetime of serious health issues. The Murdoch Institute recommends the government introduce taxes on sugary drinks, ban junk food advertising, and pay for healthy meals at school.
And it would be terrific to see our political parties come forward with some really clear thinking and plans around how we as a society are going to, better address overweight and obesity in children.
GPs say the most important thing is having access to a doctor to be able to monitor your child's health. And with many families unable to afford healthy food options, they say education is key.
We need to not be fat shaming the next generation and actually really motivating them towards a healthy lifestyle because it's fun and because it's good for them.
Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
Thousands of people have been forced to flee and dozens of homes destroyed as Japan grapples with its worst forest fire in 3 decades. It follows record low rainfall and the country's hottest ever summer. At least one person has been confirmed dead, and the fire has scorched more than 2,000 hectares in the northeast. Around 2,000 firefighters are on the ground working to smother the flames.
Cars have been washed away in Spain's normally idyllic Canary Islands. All this raging water was caused by a sudden storm. Many had to be rescued, but remarkably, there are no reports of people missing.
Well, we know what it sounds like, but ever wondered what going supersonic looks like? This is the XB1, and it's just been photographed breaking the sound barrier. This never-before-seen image shows the jet creating shock waves as it goes faster than the speed of sound. Even better, there was no audible sonic boom. NASA is hoping the test flight can help speed up the return of supersonic air travel that's much quieter.
Time now for sport and the first Teams Tuesday of the year, Steve.
Yeah, pity they won't be here though, Katrina. Good evening, everyone. Ahead, the Cowboys' new Tommy guns, the Dolphins settle on a 6-shooter, and a trio of Bronco bolters pack their bags for round 1. Plus, opening round shut, Lions coach Chris Fagan's desperate plea is heard. Lions coach Chris Fagan's desperate plea for common sense to prevail has been heard. As you've seen, Thursday's clash with the Cats is one of 2 games in Queensland to be called off due to Tropical Cyclone Alfred, while a third has been shifted interstate.
A bluebird morning at the Gabba today. Cyclonic winds and heavy rainfall expected Thursday.
It was a tough decision, but in the end, we didn't have any alternative.
It's just a game of football. The safety of family and friends and staff and fans is the priority. So that's why common sense has to prevail.
And it has. The AFL confirming the Lions will now unfurl the premiership flag at the Gabba at a later date, likely to be round 3.
We had the celebration last year in September when we won. We don't need another celebration in March, to be honest. I know it's tradition to unfurl the flag, but we've moved on from that fantastic moment in September.
It sort of reminds me of the COVID situation. It's a bit unpalatable talking about when you prefer to play a game of footy when people are sandbagging their houses.
The Cats' bags were packed to fly to Brisbane tomorrow morning before a captain's run at the Gabba, but they'll remain grounded in Victoria.
It's easy to sort of focus on the frustration and maybe the short-term disadvantage one might feel they have in these situations, but there's always a silver lining to these things as well. Even if you isolate it to, whether it's a good idea to be jumping on a plane and flying towards a hurricane or a cyclone.
The other season opener to be held in the so-called sunny state on Saturday has also been shifted. New fixture dates are to be confirmed by the AFL in the coming days. Alyssa Smith, 7 News.
While the Dolphins will escape to Sydney tomorrow night, a new-look Broncos side has already fled south of the border ahead of their season opener against the Roosters. Toilers have edged out talents with a trio of pre-season bolters forcing their way into Michael Maguire's round 1 team.
Departing ahead of Alfred's arrival, the Broncos bound for Sydney and Corey Pakes with the number 9 in his carry-on.
He deserves his spot. Billy Walters and him going to have a battle, all year, which I think is fantastic. It's great for the club.
Their bags are packed for an extended stay. The punch their packing's got Gilly Giddy. Payne and Paddy at prop. Kobe Hetherington's locked in at 13.
I love that they go about the game differently with the ball and without the ball. I love the way Kobe cuts him in half. Payne's a bit of a rapper.
Back rower Jack Gajewski's gotten the nod over Brendan Piacora. Dean Mariner's Selwyn Cobbo's inside man on the right edge. While at left centre, it's comeback complete for new old Bronco Gamut Shibasaki, who returned to Red Hill on a train and trial deal.
It's a wonderful try. Gamut Shibasaki scores.
The Broncos' nearest rivals have had to shift their season opener to Parramatta. It's strike centre Herbie Farnworth's 100th game.
Proud of it. When I first played my first one, I didn't really think I'd be getting to 100, so yeah, happy to be out there, especially against Wayne too.
Cody Nikorema's been handed first crack at 5'8" against the Bunnies. Former Tiger Junior Tupou's one of 3 Dolphins debutants covering Jack Bostock on the wing.
Been really quiet and worked super hard, so you can't ask him more than that. He's a really strong boy, very, very good yardage carries.
Mitch Crone, 7 News.
Up north, the Cowboys are preparing to unleash Generation Next. 21-year-old Townsville junior Tom Duffy will debut in Saturday's Sea Eagles clash, partnering Kangaroos 5'8" Tom Dearden in the halves.
He hasn't been in a rush. He's had the time to develop physically. He's had the time to develop his game, and he's ready.
English back rower John Bateman has been locked in to make his club debut. Back up Maroons rake Reid Marnie has reaffirmed his commitment to the Bulldogs. Rumours the club was looking to offload the feisty hooker were put to bed by Phil Gould last month.
Bulldogs hooker Reid Marnie says he's no niggler.
It is what it is. Nothing I can really do about it, so I don't go out there to come across like that.
Face to face, plenty of rivals say otherwise.
Reid! He went looking, Reid Marnie!
I stand up for my mates that I play with, and we're a strong, exciting team and we don't stand down for anyone. So that's just how I played my footy.
The hooker grateful club boss Phil Gould stood up for him, quashing reports of a surprise exit by Marnie.
Have the big man say that feels nice.
Playing game 50 for Canterbury, Marnie's keen to catch up Saturday night with former Eels teammate, now Dragon, Clint Gutherson.
Are you guys still mates? Any chat between you?
I hate him. I actually haven't messaged him, so I think he deleted my number.
In his first game since breaking his leg last April playing for Souths, new Dragons half Lachlan Ilias fills the big shoes of Ben Hunt, pleading for patience from fans to develop a pairing with Kyle Flanagan.
Don't expect it to be Cooper Cronk and Billy Slater straight away, but it's going to work.
Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
To cricket, ahead of a blockbuster Champions Trophy semi-final, India brazenly claimed they haven't benefited from getting to play all of their games in Dubai. Before the showdown was locked in, the Aussies flew to Dubai early to get used to the conditions, banking on India beating New Zealand in their final group game.
We guessed right in the end, so ideal to be here and outside of a pretty strict sort of bubble, I suppose, in Pakistan with the security and stuff.
I think it's important for us to just keep focusing on what we need to do.
India refused to play in Pakistan, so the ICC reached a compromise. Max and Katrina, that's a day when common sense has prevailed.
I don't think anyone could argue with that. Thank you, Steve. Well, scammers are going to extra lengths, even sending couriers to elderly people's homes to pick up cash.
That's just one of several new ways people are being conned that police want you to know about.
It looks like any old ATM, but this machine is the scene of a crypto crime.
It's becoming very challenging to understand what potentially is a scam.
A woman in her 60s invited to join a money-making scheme on social media, coaxed into coming here to invest $300,000. That money now gone. Police also investigating a pop-up message urging a woman in her 80s to call Microsoft Cybersecurity. She did and gave the scammers remote access to her computer and her accounts.
We believe that these notifications come to at least if not more than 50,000 devices a day.
Almost $320 million was lost to scams last year, over 65s falling victim the most, handing over almost $100 million. Investment scams the most popular trap.
These are highly skilled operations.
Possibly the most alarming was a scam involving a woman in her 90s who received a call from a man pretending to be from the Commonwealth Bank fraud team. He convinced her to withdraw several $1,000s and sent a courier to collect it from her house.
That does take it to a completely new level.
A new campaign urging Australians to stop, check and, if in doubt, reject. Amber Laidler, 7 News.
Now let's take a look at what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Tomorrow on Sunrise, let the games begin. Your exclusive first look as AFL boss Andrew Dillon breaks down the 2025 season.
Plus the Wizarding World Down Under, a Harry Potter exclusive for Aussie families. See you in the morning, Queensland.
Tropical Cyclone Alfred headed straight for the southeast. From extra sandbagging stations to events called off. What you need to know.
And I'll have the latest on where Alfred will track and when the worst conditions will hit. That's next.
All right, let's look back at our top story tonight. And Cyclone Alfred is now heading for the southeast Queensland coast. Another 250,000 sandbags will arrive in the southeast tomorrow. More stations have opened. They include Acacia Ridge, Boondall, Toowong and Camp Hill.
Now, modelling shows 20,000 homes could be affected by the storm surge in Brisbane alone in 15 suburbs. On the Gold Coast, it's 5,000, 1,600 homes on the Sunshine Coast and 50 in the Moreton Bay region.
Major events have now been cancelled due to the weather. The AFL season opener at the Gabba and the Gold Coast Green Day concert are now postponed.
Well, let's go straight to Tony Auden now. Tony, we're in the final run to landfall.
We are, Max. Our cyclone has completed the expected U-turn and is now heading straight back towards us. It's currently the equivalent of a Category 2 system sitting just over 600 kilometres off the coast, but that number is going to start dropping. Expect an almost straight line track back towards southeast Queensland with a landfall likely still as a Category 2 system between Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast late on Thursday or into Friday. Latest model runs have nudged this track slightly south though. Further intensification is possible in this time with an outside chance it could get close to Category 3. The first cyclone warning has been issued this afternoon a couple of runs ago. It's from Double Island Point down to Yamba. We also have coastal hazards warning, a severe weather warning, which double up on a few of those cyclonic threats like intense rainfall, destructive winds, high tides and coastal erosion. Basically, we have the full gamut of severe weather on offer. Now, the focus will turn to rain at and after landfall with really nasty flash flooding and riverine flooding expected to develop. Flood watches remain current across the southeast. The main focus, I think, is south of Brisbane. On to tomorrow's forecast for the tropics, staying mostly sunny and hot while all of the action happens down south. Mackay 23 up to 31 degrees. Over southern districts, winds start to pick up again, especially late in the day, while we could get a surge of showers affecting pretty much anywhere south of Bundaberg at any stage. In the southeast, here we go. As Alfred moves closer, showers pick up across the board and wind gusts also increasing about 80 k's now right on the coastal stretch and also across the southern ranges. I'm not sure if you care about the temperatures as much right now, but we'll start to cool down. We're looking at 28 degrees in Brisbane and Redcliffe. Now, looking further ahead, we can group whatever happens on Thursday and Friday under cyclonic. A rapid increase in wind, rain, waves and surges late Thursday, approaching that likely landfall overnight. Friday should remain pretty nasty as Alfred starts to move inland and weaken. In Ipswich, the winds won't be as strong as on the coast, but it could still be wet and wild. Heavy rain likely to last into Saturday after our cyclone moves a bit further inland and we get these convergence lines, similar to what we saw in Townsville a few weeks ago with the flooding there. Gold Coasters, you are very much in the firing line for this one, with the worst conditions on the south side of the cyclone. That heavy rain also likely continuing thanks to those converging winds into Saturday. My main concern for the flooding front are the Logan and Albert rivers. The Sunshine Coasters, if you're lucky, you'll just get a side swipe, but this system is not to be taken lightly. Guys, we've said it before, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. A big few days ahead.
Yeah, certainly is. Thank you, Tony. Well, that is all from us this Tuesday. Thank you for your company.
For now, from all the team, have a good night.
Good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download now.